Part 81. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 801. Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu put on new military uniforms, their clothes were straight and they looked extraordinary. Zibao stared blankly for a moment with his eyes wide open, then suddenly pulled his own front with both hands, stretching it so hard that a rubber ball could be placed under it, spinning it around the two of them. "Mom, I want to wear new clothes too. I want hats and stars." The little fat finger pointed at the red five-pointed stars on their hats, with longing expressions on their faces. Feng Qingxiu squatted in front of him and looked at him levelly. "Zibao, look, Mom and Dad's clothes are all green." "Green?" Zibao blinked his big eyes. "So what? The grass outside is also green." If Zibao wears green clothes and rolls on the grass, or hides in the grass, Mom and Dad will not be able to find Zibao. This is the only way. Feng Qingxiu looked at her deliberately. Next to him, he put his hands in the shape of a trumpet to his mouth. "Where is Zibao? Where is Zibao? Where did our Zibao go? Ask uncles, brothers, and sisters, have you seen our Zibao? It's dark, Mom and Dad. If I couldn't find Zibao, I had to go home and leave Zibao alone on the grassland." Zibao threw himself into her arms. "No. The baby also wants to be beautiful." She hugged Feng Qingxiu's neck and twisted around like a candy. Now 3 years old, the little guy is becoming more fluent in speech and more thoughtful. Feng Qingxiu's heart softened. "Mom, let me make you new clothes. Can you make a red one? The red one is the most beautiful. There are many little white rabbits on it. Zibao will become the most beautiful baby when he wears it." Zibao touched the five-pointed star on his hat and said, "Star." The little guy took off Feng Qingxiu's hat and put it on his head. As a result, the hat was a bit big and covered his eyes. He was so anxious that he screamed, "Mom, the baby can't see Mommy anymore." Feng Qingxiu quickly straightened him up and pushed his hat back, revealing his fat face under the brim. Zibao was so beautiful that she ran up to Lu Zhang and put her hands on her hips. "The baby is very beautiful." Lu Zhang had no time to respond, because he heard someone calling him outside, and the voice sounded like Kui Shaoyuan's. He hurriedly carried his daughter out and it turned out to be Kui Shaoyuan. "Comrade Kui. Your feet are on the ground, please come in quickly." Kui Shaoyuan put the things he brought from the capital on the Kong table, with a little smile on his serious face. "I should have come to say thank you to Comrade Qingxiu a long time ago, but I am busy with official duties, and I am afraid that Comrade Qingxiu's kindness to Jia Yan will be known to others. Just gossiping, that's why I came to visit after the matter was completely settled. You two comrades won't blame me for being rude, right? Comrade Kui is serious. I am a doctor. It is my bounden duty to save lives and heal the wounded. No matter who I meet, I will lend a helping hand. You don't have to make a special trip." Feng Qingxiu said it beautifully in the scene. "Jia Yan specifically told me to pay for the medicine, how could I not come and take this trip?" Kui Shaoyuan said as he took out a stack of large dough balls and placed them on the Kong table. Feng Qingxiu pushed it back directly. "Comrade Kui, you are really too polite. Even if it is made of gold, 2 pills are not worth so much. Besides, if the medicine can save people, it should be used for its real purpose. Comrade Qingxiu, don't push me around. Niaohuang pill must be hard one. How can we accept it calmly? I've asked about it. Niaohuang is a priceless treasure and the king of medicines. You can find it without any clues. There are no such precious life-saving medicines, even rarer than ginseng." Kui Shaoyuan pushed back. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 802. Feng Qingxiu turned her head and thought for a moment, then directly took out 2 pieces of great unity, and passed the rest to Kui Shaoyuan. "Comrade Kui," Feng Qingxiu directly stopped Kui Shaoyuan's attempt to push the money to herself. 20 yuan is enough. I paid for the medicine, and you feel relieved? I can't charge you more. If I accept it and let others know about it, won't I become a corrupt person? Have you forgotten all your investigation work this time? How can this be done? Comrade King Xiu, although the medicines in the hospital are not expensive, and the staff hospital even provides free treatment to us, of course family strictness cannot be free, but Angong Niuhuang pills have always been life-saving medicines, and they have a price but no market. As long as I say yes, Feng Qingxiu said firmly and quickly changed the subject. Is Uncle Kui feeling better? Kui Xiaoyuan said hurriedly, after receiving Kwanzaa's telegram, I asked his mother to send Jia Yan to the capital for treatment. After all, the medical level in my hometown is not as good as that of the capital hospital. When I came, Jia Yan was recovering well and there was no problem. Good symptoms. I didn't tell anyone about our coming here. If Jia Yan knew about it, he would definitely ask me to say hello to the 2 senior comrades and the 2 junior comrades. Am I a little gay? Zibao's ears were very pointed. Yes, Kui Xiaoyuan looked down at the little fat man who everyone praised unanimously. Sure enough, he had handsome features and a sense of joy that made people want to laugh when he saw them. Kui Xiaoyuan himself also grinned. You are young. Not a little comrade. Zibao was so happy that he opened his mouth wide and said, little comrade. He stared at the Kong table. Kui Xiaoyuan immediately opened a can of peach. Zibao quickly ran to the cabinet, pushed the chair in front of the cabinet, climbed up on the chair and stood up, opened the unlocked cabinet door, got his own fork, and then removed himself from the chair. Climbing down, he quickly ran back to Kui Xiaoyuan and stopped, with his face raised and a smile on his face. Baby, eat guo guo. Kui Xiaoyuan handed the can to him, and he hugged it with one hand. Thank you, uncle. He ran to the chair, put the cans and bottles on the chair, and stood next to it, poking at each piece and eating each piece with relish. Lu Jiangdao, the child is naughty and greedy, making you laugh. How could it be? Zibao is very cute and polite. No wonder Jia Yan always talks about it. Comrade Lu and Comrade Qingxiu have matching talents and have both children. They are so lucky, Kui Xiaoyuan said with a smile. As long as we firmly follow the old leader's ideological path, go ahead and don't violate any of the old leader's instructions, and you don't have to worry about your future at all. Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu were moved and couldn't help but look at each other. Kui Xiaoyuan was reminding them or exhorting them. Feng Qingxiu said seriously, of course we support every instruction given by the old leader. Kui Xiaoyuan changed the subject and said, I never had time to congratulate Vice Commander Lu. You have to add 2 words in front, agent, Lu Zhang said seriously. Add or not, the commander of the army is Comrade Lu anyway, why waste words with 2 words, Kui Xiaoyuan smiled slightly. Compared with the 3 candidates who were originally sent, he is obviously alone in the army and does not participate in factional disputes. It is easier to gain the trust of the old leader, so extraordinary promotions happen. Once the signing order comes, no one refuses to follow it. Kui Xiaoyuan's words almost clearly told Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu that this army commander would belong to Lu Zhang in the future, and the word agent would be removed sooner or later, and no one else would replace it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 803. Feng Qingxiu knew how much Kui Xiaoyuan was trusted by the old leader, but Lu Zhang felt awe-inspiring. You must abide by the rules that should be followed. An agent is an agent. No matter what happens in the future, now I would like to ask Comrade Kui to add the word agent, so that outsiders will not hear that there is no word agent and think that I have the intention to replace him with Comrade yet. The higher he is, the more unwilling Lu Zhang is to leave a trail for others, and he is careful not to make big mistakes. Kui Shiyuan's eyes showed approval and he immediately changed his words, Comrade Lu is right, Ding is Ding Mao and Mao. The word agency has to be added for now. It will be a matter of the future to remove these two words. Feng Qingxiu didn't want to continue on this topic, so she asked, when will Comrade Kui return to the capital? Go back to the capital in 3 days. Leave here tomorrow and go to the military region headquarters. There are still some unfinished matters there. Kui Xiaoyuan replied, is there something wrong with Comrade Qingxiu? Feng Qingxiu said sheepishly, on the same train that saved Uncle Kui, I met 2 old professors teaching in the capital. They are knowledgeable and admirable. I wonder if they have returned to the capital. I would like to trouble Comrade Kui to help us. Bring them a letter. It was inconvenient to directly ask Kui Xiaoyuan to take care of Lu Xiaoneng and Lin Yufen, who were not relatives, so Feng Qingxiu had no choice but to make this decision. No problem, Kui Xiaoyuan agreed, has the letter been written? It's written, the envelope still contains Zibao's graffiti. When Feng Qingxiu took it out from the box and handed it to Kui Xiaoyuan, she asked, I want to ask Comrade Kui about Cao Hongju's plan to frame us. How to deal with it? Kui Xiaoyuan took the letter and sighed slightly, since Comrade Qingxiu asked, I won't say anything to show off, but tell the 2 comrades honestly that Cao Hongju's behavior is useless. She falsely accused you, but she did expose corruption. Elements such as Shan Qingming and others. So far, the whistleblower has not been punished. The reason is that we must inspire the courage to fight against the bourgeoisie. If we punish the whistleblower, who will be a socialist fighter? Even if they falsely accuse innocent people? Even if the content of their reports is half true and half false? Even if they seek revenge out of personal hatred? After listening to Feng Qingxiu's words, Kui Xiaoyuan neither admitted nor denied, with a calm expression, that's why we need people like us to come forward and investigate whether the content is true based on the report letter. Comrade Lu, Comrade Qingxiu, no one can compare with me. I have a better understanding of what the situation is like now. Times make heroes. For many people, they are heroes. The merits and demerits are left to future generations to judge. We should do our jobs and fulfill our responsibilities and be worthy of it. Just your heart will do. The anger in Feng Qingxiu's heart because Cao Hongju was not punished instantly dissipated and disappeared without a trace. Why can't I keep my temper? I have read so much information, but still don't understand the cruelty of this era. You are right, we will not hold Comrade Cao Hongju accountable for what she did. Cao Hongju has aroused public anger. I believe that with her character, she will continue to fight and no one will tolerate it forever. Kui Xiaoyuan saw that Feng Qingxiu was reasonable and appreciated him even more. She is smart, cautious, knows how to advance and retreat, and can take things up and put them down. No wonder everyone who has seen her is full of praise for her. As for those who are jealous and hateful, they do not count. Since ancient times, there have always been some people who cannot be seen. Others live well. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 804. After Kui Xiaoyuan left, the atmosphere in the entire army became relaxed. Wang Zijin received his salary, and when he had a break, he habitually walked into the service center to buy things. Now the person in charge of selling things is no longer Xiao Wang, but Zhang Xiaolo, a new recruit who has been on duty for several months. He said with a smile, Minister Wang, are you here to buy Zibao again? There are good things today. Wang Zijin patted the counter, don't I know if there are any good things? That's right, Zhang Xiaolo patted his head. The logistics department is in charge of purchasing. Of course Wang Zijin knows best if the service agency has any good stuff. Since you know, then tell me what to buy. I don't know if Deputy Commander Lu has spoken, but there are far fewer comrades who used to buy things for Zibao from me. Wang Zijin shook his head. It's not like you don't know what happened recently. Who dares to commit crimes? My comrades had good intentions, but they were misrepresented like that and almost brought disaster to Deputy Commander Lu's family. Zhang Xiaolo muttered, let's just say she made trouble out of nothing, but she also caught a few corrupt officials. It's self-evident who she is. Although Kui Xiaoyuan and his party did not pursue what Cao Hongzhi did, the entire army is now avoiding Cao Hongzhi and Lu Zayadai, and the two husbands are in an embarrassing situation. Okay, Comrade Kui and the others haven't left yet. What nonsense are you talking about here? Wang Zijin slapped the money and tickets on the counter. Zibao runs around with a group of brats every day. He's so thin. It's so pitiful that his face is smaller than Fu Bao's, which is heartbreaking. Give me a can of malted milk and a can. I need to replenish him. Zibao lost weight? Zhang Xiaolo quickly collected money, tickets, and things. Wang Zijin carried his things into the family compound. From a distance, he saw Zibao, wearing a red and white rabbit shirt and trousers, sitting at the door of his compound, looking like a meaty man with a thin wooden stick in his hand. Poking around on the ground, shaking his head, mumbling something. As he approached, Wang Zijin heard him say loudly, if a jade is not polished, it will not become a tool. If a person does not learn, he will not know righteousness. As a son of a man, Fang Shaoshi. Be close to teachers and friends, and learn etiquette. The enunciation is very clear and coherent. When he read meet 4 years old, you can make pears, Zibao couldn't continue, and his two eyebrows were pulled together. After a while, he turned around and faced the courtyard and said loudly, if you are 4 years old, you can make pears. If you are 4 years old, you can make pears. Wang Zijin heard Lu Jiang's voice coming from the yard, little fool, how many times has your mother taught you? Everyone says you are smart, but I think you are a little fool. The next sentence is that the younger brother is the elder, the wiser. The first is filial piety and the second is knowledge. The baby is smart. He is not a little fool, Dad is a little fool, Zibao retorted, and then smoothly continued, know a certain number, know a certain text. 1 makes 10, 10 makes 100. 100 makes 1000, 1000 makes 1. 10,000. The 3 talents are the heaven, the earth, the 3 lights, the sun, the moon, and the stars. The father and the son are dear, Dad, the father and the son are dear. Wang Zijin smiled and said, Zibao, look what delicious food Uncle Wang has brought. It's delicious. Zibao's eyes lit up and he jumped up. He quickly sat back down and scratched the ground at his feet with a small wooden stick. No, no, no. If the baby is there, Mommy will cook. Wang Zijin was very surprised. Has Zibao changed his gender? Not interested in delicious food. Zibao, my nephew, speaks late. His longest line is about his father earning money to buy lollipops. He is really smart in other aspects. Most of the storyline is based on him. My niece is more than 2 months older than him and speaks very early. I know that I can recite part of the 3-character sutra at the age of 2. I often say to my nephew, Zibao, you have to call me Princess Nini. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 805. Lu Zhang heard Wang Zijin's voice and walked to the door with Fu Bao in his arms. Brother is here? Come in quickly, come in quickly. Wang Zijin was carrying something in one hand and Zibao in the other. As soon as he entered the courtyard, he found clothes, diapers, quilt batting, sheets, quilt tops, quilt linings, etc. hanging on the clothesline in the courtyard. They were colorful and very colorful. Bright. As he shuttled between them, Zibao pointed to the light yellow urine stains on the white cotton pads and said, Daddy wet the bed. Wang Zhaijun immediately choked on his own saliva, and turned around to see Lu Jiang's dark face. Lu Zibao, Lu Jiang roared angrily, who wet the bed? Why did you blame Dad? Dad, Zibao insisted. Wang Zhaijun laughed loudly, Zibao, you are very good, you made your father so angry. Baby, good boy. Zibao struggled to the ground and ran towards Feng Qingxiu, who came out of the house. Mom, it's delicious. Ask Dad to open a can for you. This belongs to my sister. Feng Qingxiu bent down and showed him the puree in the bowl. Sure enough, the little guy got a look of disgust and ran towards Lu Jiang and grabbed his pants. Wang Zhaijun smiled and said, Zibao, come to uncle. Uncle has bought canned apples for you. Zibao looked up at Lu Jiang, then at Feng Qingxiu, Kuo. Go, uncle gave it to me, not an outsider. After Lu Jiang finished speaking, he invited Wang Zhaijun to sit down in the room. Fu Bao sat on his lap. Feng Qingxiu poured water for Wang Zhaijun first. Then he sat in front of Lu Jiang and fed Fu Bao some fruit puree. Fu Bao ate it in one bite, with a smile on his big cheeks. Compared with Zibao, Fu Bao's skin is whiter, pink and white, with two natural blushes on his left and right cheeks. He is really cute. Now he has been promoted to the second most popular baby in the army. The first one is of course Zibao. No one can surpass it. Leaning against Lu Jiang's chest, Fu Bao pouted. Her mouth shape is very beautiful, and everyone says she is a natural beauty. Zibao poked a piece of apple with a fork and raised it. Sister, eat guo. Sister doesn't want to eat, give uncle a bite. As soon as Feng Qingxiu finished speaking, Zibao stuffed the apple into his mouth with a groan. After swallowing it, he innocently said, no more. Lu Jiang and Feng Qingxiu were convinced by him and had nothing to say. There are more in the cans. There are a lot more. Wang Zhaijun teased him, can you give uncle a piece? If uncle can buy it next month, I will buy it for you. Let's buy canned oranges or canned peaches. Earn money to buy it, Zibao asked. After receiving Wang Zhaijun's confirmation, Zibao forked a piece of apple and stuffed it into his mouth without hesitation. I'll buy it after I finish eating. Buy, Wang Zhaijun promised. Feng Qingxiu interjected, brother, stop doting on him so much, look at how fat he is. It is cute when a child is chubby when he is 3 or 4 years old. When he is older, he is still a little fat, which is not good looking and is not conducive to growth. Fat, Wang Zhaijun touched Zibao's face and looked at it carefully for a moment. Zibao, look at your mother, she is always telling lies with her eyes open. You have obviously lost weight and gained some tan, but your mother said you are fat. Zibao pursed her lips, Mom won't feed the baby. Lu Jiang rolled his eyes, I don't know who the brat was who competed with me for food this morning. It's not a baby, Zibao shied away. Wang Zhaijun laughed, every time I see Zibao, all the unhappy things will disappear completely. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 806. It was like summer at noon in June, and the sheets, clothes, and other items drying outside were quickly dried. After Feng Qingxiu fed her daughter, she let them chat and laugh in the house while she went out to clean up. The ultraviolet rays were very strong, so she wore a hat specially. The clothes and diapers were taken off one by one, folded and put into the basket. In the end, only the cotton batting of the mattress and the sheets inside the quilt were left. Feng Qingxiu was about to take them off, sew the quilt and lay it directly on it at night, when she suddenly saw Guo Xiuying hurried past the door, carrying a first aid kit. She stretched her head out of the door curiously. Guo Xiuying had already walked far away, and she couldn't help but follow Du Xiaotao, who happened to be in front of her house. Xiaotao, where are you going? Guo Xiuying and Du Xiaotao should not be on duty today, because they need to set off again in 2 days to go to another area to treat Tibetans or promote knowledge about livelihood. Du Xiaotao stopped and pursed his lips in the direction of Guo Kuiying. Lu Xiaodai was born prematurely. Jin Xiaodai came to see sister-in-law Xiuying. As for her, she was purely there to help. Feng Qingxiu was stunned for a moment when she heard Lu Xiaodai's name. Ever since Chenju and Cao Hongju said it was Lu Xiaodai who was gossiping, Lu Xiaodai began to stay at home, probably because she was too embarrassed to see people, or maybe she felt that everyone was avoiding her when she went out occasionally, so she sadly hid at home to raise her child. Jin Hong or 5 or 6-year-old Jin Xiaodai waited on her whether she was eating, drinking, or having sex. Since Lu Xiaodai has given birth, go ahead and come to me if necessary. Although Feng Qingxiu hated Lu Xiaodai very much, the child was innocent and she had professional ethics. During the time she came to the army, she never let go of her previous skills. As for midwifery, just because she didn't deliver babies in the army didn't mean that she really gave birth by hand. On the contrary, she had improved and learned other medical skills that she had mastered before. She could understand many of Dr. Lin Qiazai's works. Du Xiaotao nodded and hurried to Lu Xiaodai's house. Jin Xiaodai stood by the door blankly, not knowing what to do, her face turned pale. Du Xiaotao pushed her gently, "Little girl, go out and play with your sister Ding Lanlan. Don't stay at home and get in the way. When an adult gives birth to a child, what's the point of asking the child to stay at home?" Du Xiaotao heard people talk about Jin Xiaodai's treatment at home and felt sorry for her. After Jin Xiaodai ran away, Du Xiaotao went into the house to heat hot water on the stove. Inside the room, Lu Xiaodai was screaming in pain on the ground. There was a straw mat that had been prepared under her body. She grabbed Guo Xiuying's wrist with both hands and said, "I will definitely survive a son, right? The medicine you prescribed for me must have been a son after I drank it, right? Whether it's a boy or a girl is determined by God. Save your energy to have a baby." Guo Xiuying was quite impatient. Her best friend was in trouble because of Lu Xiaodai's gossip, so it's strange that Guo Xiuying was nice to her. Taking out the tools, Guo Xiuying examined her, mainly listening to the fetal heartbeat. Fortunately, it was not weak. She also felt her pulse. She was born 1 month prematurely and should have little impact on the fetus. Lu Xiaodai had given birth to a child, and this time the fetal position was in the right position, so the birth went smoothly. Du Xiaotao came forward with hot water. When Guo Xiuying said this, she immediately stopped looking for Feng Qingxiu. When the cry started, Lu Xiaodai's first sentence was to ask her gender, "Is he his son? Is he his son?" Guo Xiuying glanced at her and said, "No." She held a baby girl in her hand, a small, wrinkled and red ball, weighing about 5 kilograms. The first batch of updates is here, please vote. Thank you all for your subscriptions and rewards. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 807. What did you say? Impossible. Lu Xiaodai straightened her upper body and shouted, her eyes turning red. It was relatively hot during the day, and she was working hard to give birth to a baby. Her hair was soaked with sweat, and strands stuck to her scalp and cheeks. At this moment, Lu Xiaodai still had the bloody smell of postpartum, and she looked particularly embarrassed. She yelled, making the baby girl cry even harder. Guo Xiuying rolled her eyes at her with a very ugly look on her face. Whether it's a son or a daughter, isn't it just a piece of flesh that fell off your body? Can I still coax you? How many times have I told you that the publicity team is also looking for you? Have we talked? Women hold up half the sky, the old leader said. Don't have any more futile ideas that favor boys over girls. Lu Xiaodai rolled her eyelids, leaned back, and fainted immediately. Guo Xiuying and Du Xiaotao looked at each other and continued their work. One cleaned Lu Xiaodai's placenta and other things after delivery, and the other bathed and swaddled the baby girl. Fortunately, Lu Xiaodai believed that she could give birth to a son and had all the things she needed after delivery. He was very considerate and did not let the girl be born without anything to wear. "Where's Jin Hong?" Guo Xiuying checked Lu Xiaodai's condition and found that she fainted just because she couldn't bear the blow. Du Xiaotao curled his lips while placing the baby girl on the Kong. "Sister-in-law, are you asking me? Who should I ask? Anyway, I know that Director Jin should not be on duty today. Logically speaking, he should be at home." Du Xiaotao gets angry when he mentions Jin Hong. What Wang Beizu and Cao Hongzhi did was disgusting, but their husbands took responsibility for it anyway. Zhu Rong and his family were stationed at the outpost and have not left the mountain yet. Li Shuitian also formally apologized to Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu and visited their homes in person, but the latter did not accept it. That's it? On the other hand, Jin Hong is like a deaf and blind man, unable to see or hear, and his wife was born prematurely and cannot see him. What a pity, Jin Xiaodai Du Xiaotao sighed. He had to take care of housework at such a young age, and his mother was born prematurely. It was she who ran to find Guo Xiuying, and wisely did not go to Feng Qingxiu, who was closer. Jin Xiaodai, who thought she was going to play with Ding Lanlin, stood by the door and said timidly, "Dad hasn't been back for a long time." Guo Xiuying and Du Xiaotao were stunned at the same time, and turned to look at Jin Xiaodai, whose eyes couldn't help but drift towards their sister. "Zhao Di, you said your father hasn't been back for a long time? Since when did he not come back? The military camp and the family area are next to each other. If you are willing, you can go back and forth dozens of times a day." Jin Xiaodai answered Guo Xiuying, when Qi Xiang's mother and Aunt Hongzhi were arguing. Guo Xiuying frowned, pulled Jin Xiaodai to the edge of the Kong, pointed at the infant girl and said to her, "Xiaodai, this is your sister, the person you are closest to. You have to take good care of your sister. What will happen to you in the future? The difficulty is to find me." Lu Xiaodai was eager to have a son, so she would definitely not be able to take good care of her little daughter. She could only count on the young Jin Xiaodai. Jin Xiaodai touched her sister's cheek, grinned, her black and red face was full of excitement. "Sister, I have a sister. If I take her to play with her in the future and don't play with others, my mother won't hit me, right?" Guo Xiuying and Du Xiaotao were stunned. They looked down and saw the bruise behind Jin Xiaodai's ear. Du Xiaotao immediately stretched out his hand to roll up Jin Xiaodai's long sleeves, his eyes flashing with the same anger as Guo Xiuying, because Jin Xiaodai's arms were covered with new injuries caused by old injuries, either pinched or burned, and with rolling pins and the like. The traces of things being pulled out are shocking. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 808. Guo Xiuying didn't even dare to touch her, for fear of hurting Jin Xiaodai, but she could no longer suppress the anger in her heart. "Xiaodai, tell me who hit her? Was it Mom?" Jin Xiaodai quickly put down her sleeves, lowered her head and said nothing, with one foot on the ground and the toe of the other foot making circles on the ground. Seeing this, what else doesn't Guo Xiuying understand? She was about to say something, when Jin Xiaodai suddenly spoke in a low voice, "Auntie, can you persuade Mom not to drown her sister? I will take my sister to play well and not let Mom worry." "Drown? What happened?" An unbelievable guess flashed through Guo Xiuying's mind. "My mother said that if I give birth to a little brother, I will leave all the delicious food to him. I won't be allowed to eat secretly. If I give birth to a loser like me, I will drown him in the toilet so that I don't have to live and waste my family. Food, like me, belongs to other people when you grow up." When she said this, Jin Xiaodai shook her body, and a look of fear appeared on her face. "Auntie, can you save my sister? I like my sister, and I will do my best. With my sister. Her father doesn't love her, and her mother doesn't love her. From now on, her sister will be the person closest to her. Without saying a word, Guo Xiuying picked up the first aid kit, held the newborn girl in her arms, and said to Du Xiaotao, "Take Zayadai, let's go to Political Commissar Zheng, call Jin Hong, and ask him how to deal with this matter." According to Zhao Di's wishes, Lu Zayadai should strangle and drown her newborn daughter after waking up. No matter what, this is a life and we cannot just sit back and watch. Du Xiaotao nodded and immediately put the things Lu Zayadai had prepared for his son in a basket and took them away. As for Lu Zayadai, who was lying on the straw mat and breathing very steadily, neither of them even had the desire to look at her again. Halfway through, Du Xiaotao found that there was no milk powder in the basket. Lu Zayadai may have wanted to breastfeed the child by herself but was not prepared, or maybe the child was not born yet, so their family did not have the quota to buy milk powder. So, Du Xiaotao said to Guo Xiuying, "Sister-in-law, you take the two children over first, and I'll ask Sister Xue for some milk powder." Feng Qingxiu hated Lu Zayadai, but would not anger her children. Du Xiaotao knew her character before going to Lu Zayadai's house. After hearing the purpose of her visit, Feng Qingxiu directly gave her the Fihi milk powder Kui Xiaoyuan brought from the capital. "I'm telling you, Xiaotao, this milk powder is not free. Ask Director Jin to return the money for the milk powder to us later." "It should," Du Xiaotao said and hurried away. Wang Zijin did not leave the Lu family after lunch. He was lying on the con casually, while Zibao was lying on his chest, leaning on his elbows. They were facing each other, puffing out their cheeks and blowing on each other. Wang Zijin was better at controlling himself and blew out air, but Zibao blew spittle all over his face. Just when he was about to open his mouth to comment on what Lu Zayadai had done, before the words left his mouth, Zibao's saliva entered his mouth. Wang Zijin was so angry that he covered Zibao's mouth and said, "Zibao, uncle won't play with you anymore. Uncle something to say." "Say it," Zibao said. Lu Zhang held Fubao around the room. "I told you before, Zibao is very skinny, but Fubao is still good. She is a good girl, but she is beginning to be curious about her surroundings. She always likes to be carried around by adults. At this time, she is turning her big black and white eyes, looking left and right, with a very excited expression." You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 809. Wang Zijin continued to cover Zibao's mouth and said to Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu, "What do you think Jin Hong will do?" Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu shook their heads. They were not Jin Hong, so how could they know what Jin Hong was thinking? Moreover, it didn't matter how Jin Hong dealt with it. What mattered was the future of the two sisters, Jin Zayadai. Compared with Zhu Rong and Li Shuitian, Jin Hong's character is very different. I remember that the army talked to Jin Hong a long time ago and asked him to persuade Lu Zayadai not to be so patriarchal and not to abuse Jin Zayadai. As a result, Lu Zayadai not only did not change, but intensified and made up our secrets. Just gossiping, it shows that Jin Hong didn't do anything. Feng Qingxiu sneered, perhaps everything happened to Lu Zayadai was his connivance. If Jin Hong said that he liked his daughter and didn't care whether the child was a boy or a girl, Lu Zayadai would not favor boys over girls. After all, she would care about her husband's thoughts. Moreover, Feng Qingxiu had always known that Jin Hong was restless. He was thinking about Bai Xue before, but now he didn't know what he was thinking about. Wang Zijin thought thoughtfully, "I know that Jin Hong has always wanted to replace Li Shuitian. Cao Hongzhi did these things and was despised by everyone behind his back. He was busy behind the scenes, Trying to convince the cadres of the political department, he removed Li Shuitian and elected himself to the top, under the guise of being afraid of being reported by Cao Hongju, but no one paid any attention to him. Li Shuitian's character and abilities were impeccable, and many people pitied him for having suffered the loss of a son. Even though his situation in the army was a bit embarrassing, no one made it difficult for him at work, unlike Jin Hongyang, who was acting against his will. Everyone knows that Jin Hong usually has a good relationship with Li Shuitian, but he turns out to be plotting against Li Shuitian secretly. Perhaps Lu Zayadai's gossip in front of Cao Hongju was inspired by Jin Hong. Hearing this statement made Jin Hong very angry. He had never done such a thing at all, but he couldn't defend himself because of his various actions. He could only take advantage of his off-duty day off to do it in person after Kui Xiaoyuan and others left. He went to Li Shuitian's door to defend himself. Therefore, Zheng Suifeng's people found Jin Hong at Li Shuitian's house. Li Shuitian immediately sent Jin Hong out politely. He didn't pay attention to Jin Hong's family affairs, and couldn't help but many family members who were accompanying the army liked to join in the fun. Feng Qingxiu soon learned about the arrangements for the Jin Zayadai sisters. In view of the fact that Jin Hong could not control what Lu Zayadai did, and the troops were afraid that Lu Zayadai would go crazy during her confinement period and drown her biological daughter without everyone knowing, which was against the law. Therefore, with Jin Hong's consent, under Guo Xiuying's suggestion, the army placed the Jin Zayadai sisters with a kind-hearted military family member. This family member's name is Tianling. Her child died in infancy and her knees are still empty. She is willing to take care of the Jin Zayadai sisters. The main reason is that she likes the obedient and pitiful Jin Zayadai, especially her love for her sister. Jin Hong must pay Jin Zayadai and Jin Pundi's living expenses and rations every month, and also pay Tianling 10 yuan in nanny fees. The name Jin Pundi was given to his little daughter by Jin Hong. He said that he chose it after Jin Zayadai. People would know that they were sisters at first glance, but those with a bright mind would know that he and Lu Zayadai were actually sisters. Like birds of a feather, no wonder Lu Zayadai wanted to have a son wholeheartedly. It's so hot and the speed is unbeatable. I got up at 5 o'clock to code. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 810. Feng Qingxiu had no time to pay attention to Jin Hong and Lu Zayadai's affair. Taking advantage of Wang Zijin's free time today, she said to Lu Zhang, "Fu Bao is asleep. You and your brother will take 11 Bao to Xiao Zhao's for a haircut. 11 Bao, his hair is a little long, covering his ears and eyes. It's very hot during the day, and he likes to go out to play. His hair is soaked through, which can easily cause moisture to enter the brain during sleep, which is bad for the body. Okay, you can watch Fu Bao at home." Wang Zijin was very confused. Why did Zibao need both of them to shave his head? When he arrived at the soldiers who were shaving their heads, Lu Zhang, with quick eyes and quick hands, grabbed Zibao, who turned around and wanted to run away, and directly carried him in while dancing with his hands. What happened next was an eye-opener for Wang Zijin. Once inside, Lu Zhang sat on the barbering chair, holding Zibao in his arms, holding Zibao's legs between his legs, and clamping down on Zibao's arms with both hands. "Brother, when Xiao Zhao is shaving Zibao's head later, hold Zibao's head and don't let him move." When Wang Zijin heard about it, he hurried forward. Before he could touch Zibao's head, Zibao was struggling and crying loudly. His tears flowed down like a waterfall. "No, no, Mom, help me, Mom, help me." He howled at the top of his lungs, but Lu Zhang remained indifferent. Wang Zijin was stunned. "Commander of the army, you have to hug him." "Minister Wang, help me, don't just stand there. My shaving knife doesn't have eyes." "But, Commander of the army, what kind of head shave does Zibao need? Why don't you just have a haircut?" Xiao Zhao pulled a piece of oilcloth around Zibao, tucked it into his collar, then turned around and rubbed the shaving razor on the oilcloth. Seeing the scraper, Zibao screamed louder, "Bad guy, bad guy." Lu Zhang thought for a while, "Just shave his head, it will save trouble." Xiao Zhao seemed to be used to Zibao's fierce reaction. He didn't wash his hair, but wet it with a wet towel. The little guy shook his head to prevent him from touching it, yelling, with tears and runny nose. Wang Zijin put both hands together to hold down his little head, making it easier for Xiao Zhao to remove the scissors, scraper, and clippers. Zibao cried so hard that the three adults were so exhausted that they were sweating profusely. After taking twice as long as shaving the heads of other soldiers, Xiao Zhao finally completed this task. He wiped Zibao's head with a wet towel, took off the oilcloth covered with hair, and shook off the hair on it. As soon as Lu Zhang let go, Zibao hit the ground and ran away. While running outside, she stretched out her hand to wipe away her tears. "Mom, save me, Mom, save the baby has met a bad guy." Zheng Xuefeng came out of Tianling's house and walked in the family compound. When he saw this scene, the annoyance caused by Jin Hong and his wife instantly turned into a smile on his lips. "Hey, where did this little monk come from?" He had a shiny bald head, and coincidentally, the top of the white rabbit with the red background had a slanted placket and a belt. The shirts and trousers are made very loose and elegant. Zibao was crying so hard that he was out of breath. As if he didn't hear Zheng Xuefeng's words, he kept passing by him and went straight to the house to find his mother. "Mom! Mom!" Lu Zhang said hello to Zheng Xuefeng and followed him into the house. As for Wang Zijin, after Zibao shaved his head, he went back to the dormitory early, holding his stomach and laughing. Looking at the little bald man standing in front of her with tears and runny nose, accusing her father of being a bad guy, Feng Qingxiu, who was folding clothes, was dumbfounded. She has a little monk in her family.